Hi, friends. I knew for over a year I needed to retire. I was the oldest person in the company, and all of the new hires are in their mid 20s. And I'll be honest, some of the signs I'm about to talk about today I'd been dealing with for quite a while. And the question isn't whether I should retire, it's whether I'd been honest enough with myself to admit it. And I wasn't. The first sign is exhaustion that never lifts. And I'm not talking about being tired on a Friday afternoon. I'm talking about waking up first thing in the morning already depleted. Or even the thought of the week ahead feels like a weight you're just not sure you can carry anymore. Sleep doesn't fix it. Weekends don't fix it. Vacations don't fix it. It just sits there, right here. And that was me. The heaviness was constant, and I was declining mentally and physically, and I knew it. When rest stops restoring you, that's not a bad stretch. That's a signal. The second sign is work that no longer challenges you or feels purposeful. This one's tricky because it's kind of easy to dismiss. You tell yourself, I'm just going through a rough patch, right? But there's a difference between a rough stretch and a slow fade. And I spent my first few years at my job building things, new websites, a cloud storage system, video productions, customer service systems. I was engaged. I cared. I felt relevant. And then one day, I realized I'm just going through the motions. The drive was gone. My ideas didn't matter anymore. And when the person you've always been, the one who showed up, who built things, who cares, when that person stops showing up, even to themselves, that's a giant red flag. The third sign is that your values have shifted. Or maybe more accurately, you finally notice that the company's values and yours are no longer in alignment. When I started, we were a small team, a handful of people building something real, and I was proud of that work. But over time, something changed. The focus drifted away from doing good work and toward something that felt hollow to me. And when you're someone who cares about doing things with integrity and purpose, that gap becomes impossible to ignore. You can only talk yourself out of it for so long, and eventually, your gut stops letting you. Hi, my name's Mike Sabatini, and if you're new here, I'm glad you took some time to stop by. Now, the first three signs I talked about, they're about what's leaving you, what's draining out. But signs 4 and 5 are different because they're about what your body is actually pulling you toward, and that direction is different, and it matters. The fourth sign is that your health is taking a hit. And this one scared the hell out of me because it snuck up on me. It's not like you wake up one day and everything's wrong. It's gradual. A little more tension, a little less energy, a little more irritability. The depression that becomes your baseline instead of the exception. For me, it was both mental and physical. I was declining and I could feel it. And then came the moment that made it impossible to ignore. I needed a heart stent. The artery they were dealing with is the kind that doctors call the widowmaker. And that word had a way of changing things and clarifying things. You don't just shrug that off and go back to business as usual. Or at least you're not supposed to. I did, unfortunately. So your body keeps score, even when your mind is still making excuses. The fifth sign is a clear, genuine desire for a different life. And I want to emphasize the word genuine because there's a huge difference between fantasizing about retirement on a bad Monday and actually feeling a pull towards something else. For me, it wasn't abstract. It had been something that was percolating in the background. See, I'd been running 2 part-time businesses along with my full-time job for years. One of them is media transfer work, preserving memories and transferring tapes and slides and film reels to digital. And the other is live streaming high school sports and city council meetings for 2 municipalities. Those things have meaning and purpose for me, and I knew what that felt like, and the contrast became impossible to ignore anymore. And then when Social Security entered the picture and I ran the numbers, something shifted and I had my aha moment. The different life wasn't a dream anymore. It was attainable. It was a decision. Once I saw that clearly, staying at my job felt like the harder choice. So those are the 5 signs. And if you're watching this and maybe nodding along to more than one of them, I want to go back to something I said at the beginning. The question isn't whether you should retire or whether I should retire. It's whether you've been honest enough with yourself to admit it. I wasn't. Not right away, anyway. I knew for over a year, but I stayed anyway. And I understand why. It's finances, the identity, maybe your daily structure, the fear of the unknown. Those are all real. But so is the cost of staying too long. And I felt that cost in my body. I felt it in my mood. I felt it every Sunday night. And so did everybody around me. If any part of this resonates with you, maybe that's your sign. Not one that's on this list, just the quiet one you've been carrying around and trying to ignore. Leave a comment. Tell me which one. I read them all, and I will respond to each one. And I know that others are equally curious to see what you've got to say. And if you're figuring out what comes next, consider subscribing to the channel, because that's exactly what we do here. We'll talk again soon. Take care of yourself, friends. You've earned it.